Halo teman-teman Infofotografi, kali ini kita kedatangan tamu dari Singapura, yaitu Mr. Mathias Heng, seorang fotojurnalis freelance internasional yang sudah malang melintang di dunia internasional, termasuk meliput berbagai peristiwa-peristiwa yang sangat penting di dunia, yaitu peristiwa-peristiwa konflik ya. Itu luar biasa sekali. Misalnya Mathias Heng ini sudah pernah ke Irak, dan juga di tahun 2022 kemarin dia pergi ke Ukraina. Wah, luar biasa sekali. Jadi saya ingin bertanya beberapa pertanyaan supaya teman-teman yang mungkin tertarik dalam bidang fotojurnalisme itu bisa mendapatkan info dari fotojurnalisnya langsung ya, dari Mathias Heng yang sudah pernah pergi terutama ke daerah perang. Oke, thank you for coming and agreeing for this mini interview.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih kembali. So, my channel is about photography and many people love to know about many kind of photography.
Yeah.
So, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, how you involved in photography, and also why you choose photojournalism? What's the story?
Okay, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a photographer, but there was no school of journalism at that time. So what I did, because I was so passionate about photo, so I just went and do photo. And of course, with in the early days, you are influenced by commercial and fashion. So there was not much on journalism, so I went into commercial. So I became a commercial and fashion photographer before I became a photojournalist. But as you go along, started taking photos, your level of photography changed. Your maturity of thinking, your thinking of taking photos, the way you look at things change. And of course, you know, as when I was young, you know, I was immature in I just do photos, you know, just do fashion and commercial. But as time went by, then I looked deeper into it. And I was like, yes, I want to do photojournalism. But there was no proper school at the time. So what I did, I self-taught. I started to pick up the camera. I do self-project, you know, and I worked from there. And because the reason why I like doing, why I've always wanted to do photojournalism, I've got very much love for humanity. And that's one. Number two is I find that photojournalism or documentary, whatever you take is history. It becomes a part of history. You know, and the photo will always remain what you took in that time of event. So I look at it as like, so the next generation, you know, they were not born at that time yet, or they were not into the scene, but they can look back through photos. So to me, I find is valuable in that sense, you know. So that's why I've always got this love for humanity to do photojournalism.
I see. Okay. Last year, what motivated you to go to Ukraine?
Okay, there was so much news about it that Russia was going to invade Ukraine, Putin. You know, there was a lot of news about that, and Putin was saying that he would not invade, but I just felt that something was going to happen.
So you have the intuition, like
Yeah.
photojournalist intuition.
Yeah.
So you went before
I went,
Russia
yes.
invade.
I supposed
Almost.
to, almost, because what I did, I booked my flight
Yeah.
for 22nd of February, and then the airline wrote to me and saying that my flight has been cancelled until further notice.
I see.
And then 24th February, the invasion took place. So immediately I know that, you know, there's no way commercial airline is going to fly to Kyiv.
No, I see.
So what I did, I flew to Poland. I went to Warsaw. from Warsaw. Then I took the bus. From bus, I crossed the border.
I
I
see.
crossed the border to Lviv.
To Lviv,
And from
yeah.
Lviv, then I took a train to Kiev.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like contraflow then. When people like going to Poland and then you go inside Kiev at that time maybe, yeah?
Yes. So when I went in, it was easy to go in a sense, easy that the traffic was free flow.
Yeah.
Whereas people
Going-
going out,
Going
to
out,
Poland,
you're going in.
the traffic was chaos. People
Yeah,
waited
yeah.
like 4 days
Yeah.
just at the border to cross the
Yeah.
border. But for me to go in, it was fast.
I see. Okay. And I know you from Leica ambassadorship for a few years back, in 2016. And then we went together to the headquarters, the Leica Wetzlar,
Yes.
together with the group.
Yes.
And I saw your appearance is very unique. Always, until now, with long hair and some kind of, it's very recognizable. And how do you think that is that affect you in your work or other perceive you?
Okay.
Do you think that's have effect?
Yes and no,
Hello.
because sometimes people mistook me as Jackie Chan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sometimes it's quite difficult to get the picture
I
because
see.
you think I'm, famous.
You become
star.
a center of attention.
Yeah. But
Sometimes.
I come to in a point how I can avoid it is I just let it flow. When I say let it flow, right, I just acknowledge, and then because I work through observation, and
Yes.
whenever the subject comes in my way, I see it's a good picture, I take a photo. So and of course I try not to be too loud. When I say too loud, right, I mean not to make too much movements. I try to be very subtle in terms of my movement, and I shoot in a different mode as well. So if I'm in a serious mode, I really think that I need to get this photo. I cannot afford to do mistake because my hair, sometimes my hair is in the way, in my eyes, so I have this bandana. I just pull it up. So
I see.
Yeah, so it
Yeah,
depends working situation.
So this scarf or can be multi-purpose. And
For
sometimes
multi-purpose,
become
for
bandana
multi-purpose,
sometimes
yeah.
protect you from maybe wind or
Wind or
gas and
dust,
something.
yes.
Yeah, it's very
Even
useful.
like winter, right, if it's cold, I'm gonna have a few bandanas
see.
to cover.
That's why some of my friends also have like in photojournalism has this
Yeah.
bandana.
So it's very useful.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And also when you are in the war zone, of course there is a lot of anger, desperation,
Yeah.
sad things, and you said to me that you care about the humanity.
Yeah.
So I think that you have a sensitive soul, of course, like you have high ethics. But in that moment, you need to work also, right?
Yeah.
You need to take pictures also. How do you handle the feeling? You must have feeling to like anger and sad.
Yes, of course,
But you have,
yeah.
how do you handle?
I
Some-
push my emotions aside when I'm taking pictures
Okay.
because if you get affected, then it's quite difficult to work.
Yeah.
Again, I work on case by case. So if someone, for instance, there are a lot of people around you, and someone needs help, and me as a photojournalist, I don't have to help because there's someone who's an aid worker will help. So I will not help. But if there's no one there, then yes, I'll help. For instance, in Japan tsunami, I was in the disaster area, the devastation area, the cemetery, and this cemetery, the family, the loved ones, they have to exhume, and they will sort of relocate the cemetery. So it just happened that there was a mother and daughter there, and just me, and there's no one there.
No.
Because the devastation area. And I took a few photos, and then she had the cemetery, and then she had a big marble there, she had no strength to lift up the marble, the broken marble, the two stones. So what I did, I helped her. So I helped her. I walked away, and then she had a shovel, and she tried to dig the grave. She didn't have the strength. So I was like, no, I'm not going to take a picture. So I put my camera down, and I started digging the grave.
Let me see.
So I started digging the grave until we found the remains of father. And then, you know, then I walked away, you know. So I work on a case by case. So sometimes I see it that there are a lot of people, that people are more experienced than me, then I don't have to help in that sense. You know, like for instance, a medical aid, you know, some doctor or a nurse or is there, I don't have to help, you know, or a rescue worker. But if I'm alone, I put my camera down. So that's one instant in Japan. So I dig her father's grave to get the remains. But people get afraid, but to me, there's nothing to be afraid of, because as long as your intentions are pure, you're not thinking of have a motive, there's nothing will happen to you.
That's a special case, that because you are the only one that can help. But if in the crowded area, do you think that it's best to be detached from the emotional, like
yes, of course.
Focus on
your photos.
Then, that's more important.
Yeah, because the photo is the one that tells a story.
Yeah.
And that, if you get a good picture, that picture will go all over the world,
impact,
and tell everybody.
Yes.
So the photo that we use as a photojournalist is a communication. It's a universal language that tells the world that what's happening. So if your photo is not strong, then there's no impact. So for me, I always try to get the strongest picture to tell the story.
Yeah.
So that people look at it and it's like they will look back and then they will reflect on it.
Yeah.
That's what's most important.
Yeah, that's important. That's why to be clear-headed and detached from the emotion.
But of course, at the end of the day, I feel I get burnout because
absorb some
absorb
of the feeling. Yeah.
Yes. So after a while, you know, you come back, then you get very tired because what you witnessed.
Yeah.
And then at that point of time, sometimes there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
The only thing you can do is to take a photo that tells a message. And you can, once you can do that, then your photo becomes impactful.
Now is the exciting part about the gears that you take with you in Ukraine or other place, that gears that you trust. What camera and what lenses or any accessories that you usually take, and why? Okay,
I used to take 3 camera bodies. In Iraq, when I covered the war in Iraq, I used 3 camera bodies. 1 main body, and the 2 bodies are my backup bodies. But I end up taking only 1 body most of the time. So now, you know, through all my years of assignments, you know, always taking extra bodies, and always end up not using it. So, but now in Ukraine, when I was in Ukraine, I only took 1 body.
You take a chance.
I took a chance. I took this camera. I took 1 lens.
One lens.
Yeah, because I didn't want to travel too heavy. I wanted to as light as possible, because I had my armor vest, my helmet, then of course my laptop, and you know, so I tried to reduce my weight. So my backup lens is 24 and 50, so I use that. And so because I had so much confidence in the camera never broke down on me.
Yeah.
So I decided to just take 1 lens, 1 body at a time, because I know Ukraine is going to be difficult, because when I went in there, it was during winter. So winter, you know, if you to move around, and I knew the situation was different, because when Russia invaded Ukraine, didn't have proper equipment, and everything was very unstable. So it was hard for me to even take so many things.
Yeah.
So because when I go with the troops, they go minimal. So so I cannot be carrying too many, because if I did that I might put them in danger. I might slow them down, and I might slow myself down as well. Might not be able to cope up with that.
Yeah. So the camera of your choice is the Leica.
This one is the Leica MP240.
MP240.
Yeah.
And then the lens is.
The lens is 35 1.4.
1.4.
Yeah. So my lux.
Any reason why most of the photojournalists, including you, really trust the 35 millimeter? What's
Because
the magic about the 35?
The magic of 35, as a photojournalist, 35 millimeter is closest to the human eye.
Oh, yeah?
So which means what I mean, there's no distortion.
Yeah.
And and the good thing about the 35, I can do generic shot, landscape. I can do portrait also.
Yeah.
So that's the good thing. So which means it's an all-rounder lens.
All around, yeah.
Yeah. So if I use say a 24, yes, I can still use it.
Yeah.
If I use a portrait, I might get a bit distortion.
Yeah.
A bit.
Yeah.
The face of the one I take might look a bit skinny.
Yeah.
A bit, So that's why I want to show my photos as what we see as our given eye. And that's the reason why I use. And also the reason why I'm using the 1.4 is fast lens, because I didn't even bring a flash.
Yeah.
So
No extra lighting.
Yeah. So I
About tripod, no tripod. Yeah, because
it's all handheld.
Burden.
Yeah, burden. Because I can tell you, just traveling to such places, right? Even you travel light, if you walk, because sometimes there are no vehicles, you have to walk to certain places to get a vehicle or wait for a vehicle. And the walk is not like 100 meters, or you'll be walking maybe good 15-20 minutes walk. With heavy stuff, and it gets very tiring.
I see.
Yeah, so that's why I try to minimize it. So the rangefinder body as well, it reduces my weight. So if I'm going to use a big camera, then it'll be too heavy for me as well.
Yes.
And it's too heavy also. Covering such situation, you have to be careful, because if you carry a long lens, big camera, sometimes long lens from a distance looks like, so it's like a rifle. So that's why but I've always used the M system. I've been using the M system for 32 years.
Follow-up question. Now, this is MP240, but there are M10,
M10,
and
M11,
M11 now, and there are variant. There are many variant, like every generation have their MP, monochrome, MD. Why not using the latest and the greatest?
I'm waiting for the M11P.
Oh,
because
why you convinced with the M11?
Because
what makes you interested?
The M11, for starters, the battery life is good.
Yes, the new battery, like SL, the battery.
Yeah, the battery lasts longer compared to M10.
Yes, that's right.
So what I'm doing, I'm looking for long battery life, whereby I don't have to keep changing, because there are a few places whereby when I go, there's no power. Yeah. So I need to do charge, like I use a car charger, either that, or I use a solar.
Solar.
But the M11, the good thing about it now, I can even use a power bank to charge. So that's why I'm waiting for that.
I see. And why MP variant?
MP, because I prefer without the logo. I like to be discreet.
Yeah. Some of my students say that MP, no logo. They like the red dot, but you like the plain one, no logo.
Yeah, I like simple. The more simple it is, the better it is. Because for me, what matters, because I work very close to my subject. Yeah. As close as like this, like 0.7 meters. So I don't want to create any distraction. So if sometimes they get distracted, they are not themselves. So I want to capture moments of the way they are.
Yeah.
So I want to capture, the scene of, the rawness in them.
Yeah. And usually MP is more quiet also.
So that's what I want to do. So I want to capture the essence of them.
I see.
So,
That's a good idea. Good idea for people who, because a lot of people are confused, on choosing the Leica, because Leica has almost everything from compacts to very professional SL, autofocus lens, and then also M system, of course, the iconic one.
Yeah.
How about you tell us a bit about how your technique usually, like for example, the M system is not easy. Like it's manual focus system.
Manual focus. Yeah.
Yeah. How is your technique? Are you using training, like you train yourself until your muscle memory you know automatically, or you have some?
No, for me it just comes naturally because
how do you focus usually?
So what I do, right?
Yeah.
So for instance, I'm approaching my subject. So you see my camera is already on off mode. So my camera is always on the S mode, on mode. So but after all, if you don't use the camera goes to sleep.
Oh, okay.
It goes to
monitor
sleep.
off.
Yeah, monitor off sleep.
Yeah.
So what I tend to do, even as I see my subject, many of us, we will just look and then we will tap. When you tap, the thing switch it on. It takes about a fraction of a second to fire up. But I will just tap halfway. My meter is already on. And then what I do is just keep walking. I'm doing that. Then I focus. I'm already adjusting my exposure. So once I do that, I look at my frame around. Okay, that's one. Number two is if I'm in say in an open surrounding, I do my reading straight away. So I just tap. I more or less know my reading, but I just tap just to counter check.
Yeah.
And then my average reading, my exposure, and my focusing is always somewhere around about 1.5 meters. Because my shooting range is about 1 meter or 0.7 meter, or it could be 2 or 3 meters, depending. But I tend to go more closer to my subject. But, so if I'm in between this way, say for instance, I'm above 10 meters, automatically I go to infinity.
Yeah.
So my radius is shorter, shorter focusing.
Yeah.
Or if I'm doing this, if I'm going close, I just do that.
Yeah.
So I cut my focusing time. See?
More efficient.
Yeah, and that's what I do. And I tend to stay calm. Sometimes you see a good picture, we get excited, we just quickly snap.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I'll just hold it slowly. Yeah. And I have to tell myself, I have to be in compose.
I see.
So you have to be in compose to compose your photo.
Yeah, I watched your 10 years ago, like in YouTube, and something that you said really, I remember it until now, which is, you said, I don't crop.
Yes.
So you are a very accurate person. Like you always compose it accurately, right?
Yes, from the camera. So I don't crop. I don't manipulate my work.
I see.
The only thing I do in Photoshop, I just do levels. Levels and slight adjustments.
Yeah.
I call it fine tuning because no matter what, you still have to fine tune your product.
Because natural light sometimes,
sometimes it throws you off
a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. Even like anything, even like if you go to a 5-star Michelin restaurant, chef will do it. The chef will not give you like that. They have to clean the presentation, the fine tuning, the finishing product.
Yeah, I agree. I also did that. Yeah, we need to responsible to post-processing to make it clearer, but not to add something or reduce something from our composition.
So it's just fine tuning. That's what I do. But I don't crop at all.
Okay. What's your opinion about the rise of smartphones to take pictures?
Okay,
do you? Okay, you have strong opinion, I know. But how about your peers? Are they starting to use smartphone? Are you trying? I mean, do you have plan to use smartphone maybe for candid shoot or video or whatever? What's your opinion and what's your plan about the rise of smartphones?
For photo smartphone, I don't intend to use.
Use it.
Because no matter what, I know the smartphone is getting better and better.
Yeah.
but nothing beats. How can a
Real
small camera with small lens compared to a big lens?
Yeah.
You know, I know because smartphone they use software. It's okay for social media. You know, to put on website.
Yeah.
It's acceptable. But if you want to use for magazine, then it's difficult.
Yeah.
Of course, for me, it's always a camera. I prefer the camera because the camera I can control. I can control my lighting, my exposure. I can shoot under really low lighting condition. So, you know, in that sense, I get good quality and true pictures of what I focus or what I focus on. Whereas on the phone, if you notice on the phone, when you take, there's no depth of field.
Yeah.
Everything is sharp.
Yeah.
Then everything is nicely,
Depth of
evenly
field. Yeah.
light up.
Light up, the definition, everything, background.
Same. So in my interpretation, I'm not telling the truth because, say, for instance, I'm in the dark area, and then the light just coming a bit.
Dark should be dark, but in the cell phone, because
it will gives you overall, and so the room is bright. So in that sense, of course, for me, it's still a camera.
Still the camera.
Yeah,
for
I'm
serious,
old school. I'm old school.
Yeah, serious photo taking.
Yeah, I'm old school, and of course, I have one quality because when I do enlargements, I do big prints.
Yeah.
So by doing big prints, I need that quality. Yeah. Unless I'm doing video.
Okay.
So sometimes I do video, and then I just use my phone, and but those are not for publication. That's for my personal, and I just send out to my people who want to know what's happening.
I have an interesting question about journalism in general. Yeah. There is a debate that the journalism should be neutral, which is you should cover both sides. But some of people in journalism also believe in subjective journalism, which is like taking depends on how you frame the stuff, and also you can also tell the story from one side that you feel strongly. So, what's your position and what do you think about the journalism? Do you cover both sides or one side? What's your opinion?
My opinion as a photojournalist in journalism is not to be biased, not to just cover one side. Unfortunately, Ukraine, I'm only covering in Ukraine. I would like to cover on Russia's side, but I have no access. No access, and no way they will allow me in. I've tried.
Yeah.
Because the whole idea of a photojournalism is as a witness. So I'm the witness. I'm not there to tell people this is bad, this is good. I'm there as a witness, take the photos and show people what's happening.
Yeah.
And then they can judge for themselves. Of course, there are a lot of cases that I covered, like for instance, like child labor, human trafficking. And they are not good. They are bad stuff. But I'm covering. I will not sort of run them, really exaggerate. I will report as what I saw. See, so to me, my opinion is neutral. Neutral as a witness.
Yeah.
Because if you are lopsided, then it becomes propaganda.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah.
So that's what a lot. Unfortunately, in today's media, some are left, some are right. So they just support, but then it makes the whole world become very mixed up. And that's when we fight because we think that you're right, I'm wrong. The whole idea of journalism is to be neutral, to be unbiased.
Yeah, unbiased. That's very important. And last question last question is, do you have tips for young generation that maybe have intention to be a photojournalist?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
like you. Of course you have a lot of idea and tips.
My tips is you got to be hardworking, perseverance, because to go into this line, it's not short term, it's long term. It's a marathon. So sometimes it can be quite discouraging. When I say discouraging, right? Could be your work. You cannot achieve what you want to get. You got no access. You got a lot of red tape. You know, people say no, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. Sometimes people they're tired of it, forget it. That's two. Number two is finance. Because you're just starting off, you need financial resources. So that is very difficult because I'm not commercial photography. Commercial photography, you know, is better income. So again, is up to oneself what they want to do and how much passion they have, and their calling of what they believe in. So, and of course that's one of it. Two is know your camera. The more you know your equipment, the better it is. When I say the better it is, because the better you shoot, because automatically you know what to do.
Yep. Of course. Yeah.
So if you don't know your camera well, and then you find it's a bit of a struggle.
Don't buy a new camera before you're going to the next destination, right? So you get confused. How to operate.
So once you know your camera, then it's better. And then of course, then if you can, try to work with one lens first. Of course, you can use various lenses, but just to work on one lens, know it well. Until you know it well, then you switch, you play around. So you understand it. But in today's day and age, a lot of people, I have this, I want this, I want that, and then they get confused. So the things that it's okay to have many lenses, but don't get confused. Don't get carried away by certain things. So what I'm saying is you got to be focused. Your mindset of mind got to be focused. And and then just and of course the last is don't crop.
It's the ultimate and
you know why? Because
the most important.
Because if you start cropping, you start giving excuses. And then your learning curve will be slower. See? So because if you start cropping every time, you always tell yourself, oh yeah, I can crop, I can go back and crop, or I can play around. But if you can crop. But if you shoot at a certain angle, you cannot crop. So that's why I'm saying, once you discipline yourself, your learning curve will go very fast because you learn through your mistakes.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Mathias.
you. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih. Terima kasih teman-teman, keren banget ya tips-tips dari Mathias Heng ini. Dan kalau misalnya teman-teman tertarik melihat karya-karyanya lagi, nah, how do our friends in Infofotografi can reach you or see your...
They can reach me on my website. Is www.mathiasheng.com, or my Instagram is just my name, Mathias Heng.
Okay, I will put it in the description below. Jadi saya akan tuliskan di deskripsi di bawah. Terima kasih teman-teman yang sudah menyaksikan interview singkat ini. Sampai jumpa lagi di video yang lain. Oke? Bye.
Bye-bye.